Show. Na 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 na. Got get that feeling.
Hello, loves. It's me, Sunshine. I have this amazing guest goddess today, Janet. Say hello, Janet.
Hi, Sunshine, and hi, community. It's lovely to be here.
I'm so glad that you are here. I have your book listed. See it scrolling on by.
Wow, very impressive technology.
So much fun. So tell us, love, tell us your journey and how you became who you are at this moment.
Wow, that is one loaded question that I love.
Start from the beginning. We have time.
Okay. My whole journey has been about healing. I started out with a very violent childhood, as unfortunately is not uncommon in our world. I was both abused by my father, and then I was raped at knife point.
And by your father or somebody else?
That was a stranger.
Okay.
I think my father. One of the things I write about is how my father had groomed me. I was so timid and frightened of the world, basically. So I was an easy mark, let's just say.
Yeah.
And so I was found. A predator found me, but my story, I don't dwell too much on the trauma and the abuse, other than to draw knowledge from it.
Yeah.
And to find that healing path, because my story really has been one of healing. And that's why that name of the book, Desperately Seeking Persephone, both the Greek Persephone and the Sumerian Inanna, they both are two goddesses who travel to the underworld.
Ooh, tell us that.
But the thing is, they both got out of the underworld. And I'm like, wait a second. They tell the story, the myths are told almost in loving detail how they get to the underworld. Persephone is kidnapped by Hades, and Inanna goes down to visit her sister Ereshkigal, and she has to go through 7 gates, and at each gate she's stripped of her clothing and all her identity of who she was, and has to face the demons, basically, of the underworld, pretty much naked and vulnerable. And those stories are told in great detail, but how they got out, it's like, and then they got out. Wait a second. What's missing in this story?
Yeah.
And that's really what I wanted to find out. That was my journey, to find that out, to figure that out. And it's really fascinating. It's fascinating because both, especially the Persephone stories, it's almost told like a seasonal story. I don't know if you know the story, but when she's kidnapped, she's down there for some time, and her mother Demeter is looking for her and can't find her, and is frustrated and running around, and goes to the gods. And finally, Demeter's the agricultural goddess, and she brings winter to the earth, and no crops will grow. And so finally the gods relent and say, okay, we're going to help you we're going to bring Persephone back out of the underworld. And then when that happens, Persephone comes back, and it turns out she ate 6 pomegranate seeds. And now, because of this, she has to go back and spend 6 months every year in the underworld, and then 6 months back on Earth. And they use this is why we have seasons. Like, okay, that's a nice story for children. Why would eating seeds make you vulnerable to going back to the underworld?
And did you find that out?
I ddid.
Tell us, love.
Because that's the climax of it all. It's also, so in Anna, I'll just tell a little bit about it. In Anna's story, the reason she goes down to visit her sister Ereshkigal is Ereshkigal's husband, Gugalana, who's the great bull of heaven, which is interesting. He's married to the goddess of the underworld, but he dies. So Inanna goes down to the underworld to pay her respects to Ereshkigal and to mourn Gugalana. Now, the great bull of heaven, think about that. What are bulls most known for, even to this day? They're seeds.
Yeah.
Because they're studs, basically.
Right.
Both Inanna's story and Persephone's story is about seeds. And where do we plant seeds? We plant them in the darkness of the earth, where they remain until they are nurtured enough, and they don't leave the underworld. They grow. They send out little baby roots, which is happening now in the season of spring.
Yes.
And then they little green heads stick up over the soil. So that to me is the basis of the story. That it's not so much that we leave the underworld behind. It's that we transform it into the nutrients that we need to grow.
Beautiful. I love that.
So that's the basis of my story.
So it's about you healing, or you're actually talking about
it's a completely true story. In fact, I started writing it because some really odd things started happening in my life that I couldn't explain.
I love odd things. Tell us.
Well, where to start? I don't even. I needed to write it because it's so complicated and so different. But what happened in 2019? Some people from my life from 1977 started reemerging in my life. Now we can do the math on that. That's got to be like 40 years.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm like, what the devil basically is happening? Like, why are these people reemerging in my life? And one of them was so strange. I have a dear friend who's an Ecuadorian medicine woman, and she was running a program in Ecuador, and she asked me to contact one of her students who here in New York to help them get down to Ecuador because they were having trouble making arrangements. And I couldn't reach this person. I tried, and apparently this person was trying to reach me, and we couldn't reach each other.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, a few months later, I get a message on Facebook, and it was a Facebook page I had never seen before. And I think it's because we weren't friends. But she had written me a message and said, "Were we roommates in New York City on West End Avenue in 1977? And I was like, I don't remember you, but that's where I lived around that time. So she told me three things about myself. She said I had been to Israel, which was true, and I had brought her back like a cloth from Israel. Nice. The reason she remembered that is that she had a baby a few years later, and she swaddled her baby in that.
I love that.
Yeah, and the other thing was that we met at Alvin Ailey Dance Studio, where I did take lessons, and that's how I brought her. That's why we were roommates. Is it was a 3-bedroom apartment, and we had an empty bedroom, so we brought her in as the third roommate. And the final thing she told me was that I gave her the book Urban Shaman by Serge Kahili King, and I was like, wow, because in 2016 or 17, I started studying with Serge Kahili King. I remember having read him in 1977. I was like,
that must have been one hell of a year, 1977. You don't remember your roommate or the book.
No. And what had happened? A couple of things. There were many reasons this was strange, which I won't go into all the details. But there were two specific reasons it was really strange. One was that so we had no contact. We were roommates for a few months in 1977. We had no contact until Susanna from Ecuador put us together in 2019. And here she knows me through Serge Kahili King, who now you see my middle name. I use Maikai because I've studied with him, and he gave me a Hawaiian initiation. So I'm very close with Serge and his teachings. And
Well, tell us who he is.
I'll tell you in 1 minute. But,
Okay.
but it turns out, I went to Serge. I said, Serge, when did you write Urban Shaman, or when did you write about Hawaiian shamanism at all? The first time he wrote about it was in 1983, 6 years after Suzu and I had been together.
Right.
And so I said, how is that possible? How would she know me
Yeah.
all these years later? And his answer was, you guys grabbed it from the future.
I love that. Woo, chills.
It was really pretty remarkable. And we've since become friends. We've become really close friends since then.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And you still don't remember?
So the reason I don't remember, I figured that out. So it's an interesting story. In fact, in my book, the title of the chapter where I discuss it is called Random Harvest.
Okay.
That was a movie with Ronald Coleman. And the story is Ronald Coleman falls in love with this woman, and then he has some major trauma in his life, and he forgets who he is. And his wife is so sad, but she stays on as a secretary, and he doesn't remember her as his wife, but she holds on to who he was until he's ready, basically, to reclaim himself.
Yeah.
And in 1977 was the year I was raped.
Okay.
And I lost myself.
Yeah.
I was lost. And Suzu, it was almost as if Suzu held on to these pieces of me.
That's beautiful.
Until I was ready to reclaim them.
Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful? And I was a slow study. It took me a while.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. Very beautiful. Yeah. I experienced a lot of abuse myself, so I understand completely. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's all too common.
Right. So now tell us about the shaman that you studied with.
Okay, so my path for healing, my first path for healing was to go to find a shamanic pathway, because for some reason it just called to me. And the shamanic pathway I chose was called Divine Humanity, and it was in representation of that we are all divine and yet we're all human.
Right.
So we have this divine soul, this divine spirit, but our bodies are human. We inhabit the earth. We walk the earth. And so these teachers actually taught from Urban Shaman.
Yeah.
I just saw a Me Too pop up. Was that somebody that said somebody who's
that he was abused also? Yeah.
I'm sorry. This is all too common. We live in an abusive world, unfortunately, our culture.
Yeah. Well, we're changing it one healing at a time, right?
Perfect. Thank you for that. Beautiful. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And that's how you change the world.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So continue with your story, love.
So this was a very traditional shamanic pathway. So we did very heavy shamanic work where we would do what's called bathings, and we would go into mountain streams in the middle of the night when it was dark out and go and kind of bathe or purify ourselves in these mountain streams. And with the symbology being, we would go in at the night and we would emerge in the daylight. And it was a purification that we did all the time. So we did some very depthful shamanic experiences.
Beautiful.
And they also taught Serge's work, as I think I started to say. So, and I started with them in 1977. So that was 20 years after Suzu. And so I had his book, or I had his knowledge or something about it in 1977. Then I had it again in 1997. but I had kind of, but I was with these teachers for 17 years. And one thing about the shamanic pathways are it can be an abusive training as well, because it's very hierarchical. And wherever there's a hierarchy, the potential at least is there for abuse. And I love these teachers. They help me heal from just horrendous things, but they were also causing, they were, as Serge puts it, there's two basic types of shamanic thought: a warrior shaman and an adventure shaman. And they were warrior shamans. And a warrior shaman looks at everybody as a potential enemy, and to protect yourself. And you need to be careful of dangers all the time. An adventure shaman is what Serge is. An adventure shaman goes out into the world looking for these experiences, looking to embrace all these experiences. So it's another way of looking at it. And my first teachers were very, very powerful shamans, but they were warrior shamans, and that turned out not to be my own path.
Yeah. And I'm more of the adventure myself, but I never even knew that there would be that type of shaman, in the world, in that kind of hierarchy, because you would think that they would be removing the ego,
I don't know about removing the ego. That's an interesting.
Well, not removing it, but being more, I don't know how to say it, but not, non-judgmental, not
they had a very, very, it was from their teachers whose names were Mom and Vince. They had a beautiful, beautiful credo, which I still follow to this day. And it was called Baby Eyes, True Talk, Flower Heart. And what that means is baby eyes, as you look at life, you look at the world every day with newness, that just as a baby does.
Yeah.
And true talk is, you don't have to say everything you're thinking, and you don't have to be mean about it, but when you speak your truth.
Yeah.
And then the flower heart is, you do it all with an open heart.
Yeah.
And you know what the hardest for me was the true talk.
Yeah.
The reason that was the hardest is I didn't know my own truth. One of the things about abuse, and those others who have been abused probably know this, is it's dangerous to speak your own truth.
If you're still in the abusive relationship, yes.
Yeah, it's dangerous. You need to, or I felt I needed to hide, and I hide who I was, and over time I forgot I had my own truth. So true talk was the hardest, because I had to, and it's still to this day, sometimes I have to stop for a moment and go, well, what is my truth? I don't know. I have to think about that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I hid my truth until I was 50. And then I have not stopped saying it since. And I look at it with child's eyes, with the open heart, and my truth is right out there.
Yeah. So these teachers taught that, but as you said, I don't think they didn't. After a while, I don't think they lived it to the same degree.
Well, that's huge.
That I hoped they would.
Yeah. Because you would think that if they're teaching it, that they would be walking that walk too.
Right. Yes.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So tell us something else.
Something else.
It's all about you, love.
Right.
Shine your light.
So one of the things I love so much about the shamanic training that I did was they also based it on the old Greek style mystery schools. Okay. Mystery schools were one of the ways that knowledge was passed down. And there's a bit of written knowledge about the Greek mystery schools, but it's thought that mystery schools originated in Egypt, and maybe even before. And one of the things, the mystery school, you can see it even in Jesus's teaching. one of the aspects of a mystery school is it teaches people to face death and not be afraid of it. So you have that with Jesus. It's the lesson of an ear of wheat,
Mm.
and the idea is when the wheat dies, in other words, when it falls back, when the seeds, as we started, the seeds
Right.
fall back to the ground. That's how new life cycles through the system.
I got chills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So these are the kinds of things not only that I study and live, but that I write about. And I moderate a site called feminismandreligion.com.
Explain that, love.
And I write about a lot of these topics on that because I think they're so fundamental to the human experience. So feminismandreligion.com it's about 10 years old, the site. And I started writing for it maybe about 4 years ago. And now I've been moderating it for about 2 years. And we have really some interesting authors from really many different walks of life, from many different traditions of religions, who talk about different religious aspects or spiritual aspects.
Okay.
Religion can have a little bit of a bad context for those of us that have stepped outside of it, but it's spiritual, what it is to be spiritual, and how to navigate a world which doesn't respect women and our bodies.
Okay. So it's all females on there.
We've had some men. At the moment, we don't have any regular contributors that are men, but we certainly have had men, because men are in bodies too and have to navigate the world.
That's
And
right.
when women's bodies aren't respected, neither are men's bodies ultimately.
Mm. Yep, that's why we're here. We need to nourish and inspire all of us,
Yes.
every single one of us.
And one of the other things that you asked me about me because I find this so fascinating, is I do pagan translations of the Hebrew Bible.
Okay.
So ancient Hebrew came out of Egypt. And how did Egyptians write? With hieroglyphs. And what are hieroglyphs? Pictures. So the ancient Hebrew words are pictures. So you have a pictograph or a rebus. So you can understand words differently if you look at the rebus. And my tenet of life or belief is that the translations, as they have come down to us, scrubbed out a lot of the ancient knowledge, the ancient pagan knowledge of pre-biblical times. And my elevator pitch for this is usually, so the word Eve, from Adam and Eve, the name Eve means life.
Okay.
Adam named his wife Eve because she was the mother of all living. What's the name of the tree in the Garden of Eden that Eve is forbidden to eat from? The tree of
Life.
life. It's her tree. And there is a strain in the Middle East of these beautiful pictures of trees with goddesses and trees freely offering fruit to humankind.
I love that.
It was a very common thing to be done.
I have a portrait that I did of myself. I'm a tree, and I have all hearts in the
Beautiful.
instead of leaves.
Oh, that sounds beautiful.
Yeah. So I'm a big tree girl.
And trees are, and also in Hebrew, the word for tree is etz. And ha or ha is the universal breath syllable. It's almost all cultures, all the cultures I know.
Mm-hmm.
So when you add to etz, so etz ha, it means spine.
Okay.
So we are trees.
I love it. And you said you studied in Israel?
I have been to Israel. Yes, I first learned Hebrew in a kibbutz.
Okay. Nice. And how was Israel? What was that experience like? What year were you there?
That was, I was very young. I'm trying to think the year. It was just before I was raped in 1977, maybe a year or two before that.
Okay.
But I was, how can I say this? I went there for healing, and perhaps it started me on my path of healing. But I was a mess.
You were detoured.
I was a mess. And
Yeah.
one of the things to me, for some reason, this felt important, but the kibbutz would take us on trips here and there.
Okay.
And we went to the Western Wall.
Okay. Cool.
And if you know, so it's all these stones, and you get a little piece of paper, and you write a message to God of what you want. And I write about this in the book in a poem, because I didn't know how to express it, just as a story on paper at least. Because so you're given this little piece of paper, like, and you could ask God for anything you want. And I was like, oh, how do you take this universe of what you want and put it on a tiny piece of paper? How do you shrink your desires into? And people I could see they had these little pencils, and they were writing, like so tiny that, and I was so afraid that if I wrote something that would shrink my dreams. So so I thought about it for quite a long time. And what I finally decided to do was I drew God a picture
Oh.
of what to me was beauty.
And what was the picture of, love?
The picture was probably a sun and a flower. I'm
love
right to draw stick figures, but it was my vision of beauty.
I love that.
Do it, and I that's what I put into the wall.
That's beautiful. I actually do the same thing when I'm taking notes. If I'm in a class or a workshop, whatever, I'm drawing pictures instead of writing the notes, because it just comes out of me that way.
Sometimes things just transcend words.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
But what that did for me, I believe, is that I felt words would narrow my world. And I think by making a picture, or in my book a poem, it expanded my world.
Yeah.
And I think that, I think I can trace that to being the start.
Yeah. Now, do you have a copy of your book?
My book is going to be released on May 19th, and it is available for pre-order at a discount. We're offering a discount until it's released. So it's on Amazon, and you can look it up by name.
Okay, and you could pre-order it?
It can be pre-ordered, yes.
Beautiful. Do you have the poem handy? Would you read the poem out loud?
Oh, okay. Let me see. I could probably bring it up. That's an interesting question you ask.
Just so we could have like a little tidbit of what we would be purchasing.
Okay, so one of the things it's a several part poem, and the overarching title is "There Will Always Exist Vibrations." And so this first part is also 3 parts. So here it is. After I was finished with my court interactions, because there had been a court case with my father.
Okay.
And had graduated from high school, I traveled to Israel, where I did an Ulpan. That was a program of working on a kibbutz while learning to speak Hebrew. I gratefully lost myself for a while in the fields. After the harvest came in, my kibbutz, Sha'ar Hamakim, the gate of the valley, took us to Jerusalem to celebrate. We visited the Western Wall, where we were all handed tiny papers to write a request directly to God. We would then place the paper in a crevice of the wall. A request to God. Where does one start? And then this is part 2. It was my time of brokenness. The wall absorbed my pain. It was absorbing everyone's pain. I was holding a wisp of paper to carry the full weight of my heart's desires. Staring at it in indecision, I saw its blankness stretching to infinity. I watched one woman scribbling furiously, a tome in the tiniest script she could muster. I was afraid that once my pencil point touched my paper's surface, infinity would shrink to the size of my world, and I would be trapped. Lord knows I wanted everything everyone else there wanted. What does your heart know that your head does not? The wall becomes a revealing mirror. If only we can stop chattering. Perhaps that is its secret, the source of its sacredness. And then the third part, I came to Israel to heal my wounds, but before the wall, they felt all the more raw and tender. My heart was drinking in the vibrations and bypassing my head almost entirely. Those pulsing ripples felt as sharp as a surgeon's knife, uncoiling outward, stirring everything in their orbit. No wonder conflict is always so close at hand. Hate vibrations and love vibrations feel different on our skin. Another secret of the wall. My heart began to speak in a language all of its own as it guided my hand, pencil to paper. Finished, I folded it carefully to place in the wall. It was a drawing of a budding flower as beautiful as I could make it. I did not feel trapped.
I love that. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, love.
Thank you for asking for it.
Yeah, that was amazing.
I'm happy I could.
What'd you say? Oh, you got your sound. That was beautiful, though. Yeah, Danielle. Yes, it's in her book on Amazon. The name of it is Scrolling Across. I think we lost our friend Janet, though. I think that poem just shook up the whole Wi-Fi for her. Let me see. Yeah, she's gone. We'll see if she comes back. But yeah, so that's beautiful, beautiful story. I met Janet at a sound healing in Massapequa back in November. And we just gravitated to each other, and she was a beautiful, beautiful soul. And she saw that I did podcasts. So I saw that she wrote a book. So I said, why not have her on and share her story? And that's why I do what I do, right? We have all these amazing souls on here. So if anybody else is ever interested in coming on and sharing their truth and being vulnerable in their story, yeah, that way, we can get you out there and get some business your way and maybe help heal somebody else just by sharing your story. Hoping Janet will come back. So funny. Oh, wait, I'm getting a messenger. Oh no, she says she's locked out. Try again, love. Technology. Let me see. Anybody have any questions for me? Do you want to know my truth? I was interviewed, God, it's got to be 2 or 3 years ago, but I haven't really spoken my truth. Oh, wait, here she is. Yay. Ah! It's all.
That was one powerful poem. It knocked me right.
That's what I said. I go, wow, knocked her right off of the Wi-Fi. I love it.
I don't know. I had Wi-Fi, but I knocked me off this site.
It's all good. That's why it's live, right?
Yes.
So funny. So tell us more about you. So now, so the book is about finding yourself, healing yourself.
Yeah, it's about. So this actually all began. Do you know who Rachel Pollack is?
Mm-mm.
I call her the grandmother of tarot. She unfortunately she died. I'm going to say 2 weeks ago now.
Okay.
She's a fairly strong influence. I was her student, and she was my friend. And
Was she a psychic medium?
no, she was tarot. I can show you. She did her own.
Oh, tarot cards. Okay.
Tarot deck. This is called the Shining Tribe.
Okay.
Beautiful her cards are.
They are really cool.
The camera so you can really see them.
Yeah.
But anyway, so when all these strange things like Suzu showed up in my life, and there was somebody else from 1977 that also, or he didn't show up in my life so much as people were looking for him. And it turned out I was the only person who knew this priest personally.
Okay.
So also,
There she goes again.
are we on?
Yeah, you're on. Yeah.
Am I on? I don't know. You look frozen to me. I don't know if I'm on.
I hear your voice. Just keep talking. Keep talking.
All right, I'm going to go off again and then sign back on, and hopefully it will be again. We're talking powerful stuff here.
Oh my goodness. It's the eclipse, right? So funny. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions for me, love? Anybody, boo, boo, boo. I could sing while we wait for her. So funny. I hope everybody had an amazing week. It's been so gorgeous here on Long Island. Trying to think what else to say. Usually I don't have much loss for words, but when I'm in the mode of somebody else, featuring somebody else, I do have cards though. I could pull cards. We have Danielle and we have Randall on. I could pull cards for you. Yay! Let's do that. So fun. Danielle first. Ready? Companionship. Giving someone your complete presence is an astonishing gift. Yeah. It's got 2 elephants on there. Yes, I love it. But companionship is the thing about companionship and relationships are, 1, you must be whole yourself and the other person also. Oh, here she comes.
Sorry.
Hey, love. That's all right. I just want to finish with Danielle. And then when the 2 of you are whole, then you make a whole third thing, a third universe, and that's a beautiful relationship. Yay! All right, love, go for it.
We're talking powerful stuff, and my computer must be like being affected.
I know.
It's knocking me off. And I was also looking. for Rachel's card, because Rachel did a tarot reading for me.
Okay.
It was almost 2 years ago that she did this tarot reading, and the card that came up from my experience, like an overall card of my experience, was the Star card, and the Star card is a picture of Persephone.
Okay.
You know, and Persephone, of course, is the one who goes into the underworld and finds her way out. And so, basically, this very meaningful tarot reading she did for me has
Right.
become my book.
Well, tell us about the reading then. Or the book, whatever.
Right. So back to Persephone, because she's
Okay.
the main character, and Persephone was actually the child of a rape. Zeus raped Demeter, and that's how Persephone was born.
Okay.
So talk about a dysfunctional family. And when Hades decided that he wanted to have Persephone, he went to Zeus, Persephone's father, and Persephone's father helped Hades kidnap Persephone. And for me, this had a great deal of meaning, because when I was raped, my father had an office on 49th Street in Manhattan.
Okay.
And he had a large bathroom with no windows, and I used it as a dark room when it wasn't office hours. And I was walking into that dark room when I was attacked. So I was in my father's
bathroom.
home.
Yeah.
That I was attacked, and Persephone, of course, it was her father's realm, with her father's help, that Hades kidnapped her. And kidnapping you can read as rape, because that is what happens when a maiden is kidnapped. And I was so taken. I love this concept. You know, the Greek myths, and not just the Greek, worldwide myths, the reasons they stick around is they can be understood on so many levels, and they resonate so deeply with our human experience, that I think that they have so many lessons to teach us. They become like a beacon of light for us to learn what it means to be human.
Yeah.
And so this reading that Rachel did for me, there were many parts of it that felt very important, but that was the main card. That was the one that sent me off on this journey to write this story, because there was, as you see, I've introduced so many characters just in this brief time we've been talking, and because how could I make sense of all these things that were happening to me, and how can I put them in a context to understand who I am in all of this, and what is the process that it's not just me, but that others too follow.
Right. Beautiful. And so the whole story is about you learning and growing and healing.
And I have 2 shamanic initiations, one from this Divine Humanity, and then the other from the Hawaiian, from Surge. And I described the training of both shamanic initiations. And I believe I'm, other than say Carlos Castaneda, I don't know of any books that describe what a shamanic initiation is like and what that training is. So I go into some detail about what a shamanic training is and how it works and what the experience is.
Beautiful. Very interesting, love. Very interesting. So now, you healed through the shamanic training, or you healed, elsewhere?
How do you separate it out?
Well, just asking questions here. I'm trying to pull it out of you here.
A good question, but I have to say, the shamanic training gave me the tools.
Okay.
That allowed me to, but I had to learn how to work. Like, I had to leave this group I had been with for 17 years, which felt like I was giving up my whole life because I was so committed to it. But it was through leaving that group that I was able to find my own path.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so important to um do it on your own.
It is.
Yeah, it's very important.
And
And it's
abuse,
hard sometimes when you are in a relationship and you're going through a healing, process, and that person isn't growing or that group is standing still, you have
I'm
to.
moving in a different direction.
Yeah, yeah.
What's the things I say? Abuse is a little bit like an old coat. It's ratty and disgusting,
Mhm.
but boy, does it feel good. You're
Yeah.
so comfortable in it.
Well,
And,
that's because you're used to it. Yeah.
and in
Yeah.
some ways, I consider myself at risk for abuse, probably for the rest of my life, because I know that old coat very well.
Mm. Well, then you still have some healing to do, my love.
Probably.
Yeah. Yeah. I was abused by 6 different people in my world, and, my first husband was my rapist.
Oh,
Yes, but I went through a huge rebirth, and, I have no attachments to that part of my life. You know
beautiful,
yeah, since 2019, it's just been removed,
beautiful.
completely removed, yeah. And I send them love and light, but it will never happen to me again.
That's,
Never, you
that's
know?
nice.
It's a huge process, but you have to go through that deep shadow work, right? And heal it.
Yeah. Well, it's as we do with the Hawaiian, which is I think my favorite way to look at it is we may not be able to change what the memories are, but we can change our relationship to our memories,
Yeah.
and they don't have to hurt. We can learn from them. They can be it be the foundation, the seeds
Yeah,
that
yeah,
grow.
definitely. But I'm also a hypnotist, so I change those memories too.
That is so Huna is the name of the Hawaiian pathway, and that is so Huna. It's
Yeah,
totally what it is. That's when you really
yeah.
get down and dirty with it.
You get in deep, girl, you get in deep. I love it.
Yes,
Yeah, it's pretty amazing, this
yes,
world that we are in,
yes.
and, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for you,
Thank
and
you.
that you were able to get through that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And you as well. It's wonderful to make a connection
Yeah.
over that healing journey.
Yeah, we met at a sound healing, so that
Yes,
was beautiful.
yes.
I'm actually having Susan on, next
Oh,
week.
good.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
That'll be an interesting meeting as well.
I know, I was gonna wear my tie-dye tonight, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna save that for Susan." Fun, fun. Uh-oh, you getting ringed?
I'm getting ringed.
Uh-oh.
Uh,
So now is there anything you wanna say out loud, for people on their healing journey? If there's something that you want to, share and
I just want to say there's so many different pathways. There's so many different ways. There's so many different tools, and every person is different. And there's a commonality of experience because we're all human beings. We all have certain commonalities of experience, but ultimately, our experience and the way we do it, we have permission to be who we are and to do it in our own way and to do it with our own words and our own truth. And I think that's just what makes it so beautiful. It's like this multicolored tapestry,
yeah,
or a Picasso painting that can come out in so many different ways. And to embrace that in all its fullness is just such a beautiful thing.
it really is. And now do you practice? You do healings also?
I do some healings. I do Hawaiian workshops. I do labyrinth walks
Oh,
in
nice.
North Belmore. There's the St. Francis Church has a gorgeous labyrinth, and I'm their labyrinth mage.
Oh, I'm gonna have to come.
I'll put you on the mailing list for the.
Yeah.
And
And
if
when,
anybody else likes, they can contact me.
yeah. And what when do you do that? The
I
labyrinth.
try to do them at the 8 Celtic seasons.
Okay.
I will be away. Beltane is coming up, which is May 1st, and I'll be away. I just became a third-time grandma.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you. And my little one's in California, so I'll be in California for Beltane.
Okay.
I will do the solstice. I do have a walk scheduled for the solstice.
On June? In
In
June?
June, yes.
Okay.
And I can, if anybody wants to contact me through you, I can put you on the mailing list and
Yeah.
to get this information.
Or you could just put your email in the comments, and that way Janet could do all the work.
Thank you. I'm happy to do it.
I like to
That'd be
do.
the hardest thing I have to deal with in life. Oh wait, I pressed it before.
Well, you could do it afterwards, love. You
Okay.
could do it afterwards, yeah.
Okay. Well, we're doing it.
Ah.
Okay.
Oh, you put it here. Okay, let me do that.
Put it in comments. Did I do it
Yeah.
right?
Now I'll do my handy dandy. Whoops. Nope, that wasn't it. And what else? So what type of healing do you do? Did you say that already?
I tailor it to the needs of the person needing the healing. So I can either do traditional shamanic healing, or I can do Hawaiian healing, or I can do tarot reading. The tarot can be a wonderful way in.
There, I put your email right on the bottom. Beautiful, love. You see it?
Yes.
Magic.
Yes.
So
my healing modalities are designed to fit the needs of the person.
yeah, yeah.
And then I do Hawaiian healing groups. We call them haipules, which is a manifestation technique. It's a healing technique where you kind of plug into different energies of the universe, and then you send out those energies for distance healing.
Beautiful.
And as I think we started talking before you went live, is one of the gifts of doing this work is when you heal others, you heal yourself.
Yes.
It's very powerful work.
It's very powerful. I know my doctor is, I mentioned that I had surgery, so they're like, "How are you healing this fast?" I'm like, "I don't know." So fun, so fun.
Yes.
I don't know what he wrote. May your amazing good fortune come to pass through grace and perfectly. Okay. Grace. He meant grace. I'm like, okay, Greece, whatever. We were talking about Greek.
It was perfectly.
So funny.
We have an acronym we use, which I think you'll like. It's called EWOP, EWOP, and the acronym is for everything works out perfectly.
I love that. I love that.
EWOP, baby, EWOP.
Yes. EWOP, baby, EWOP. We'll have to make a song about
getting T-shirts made that say.
Yes. Let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Everybody, thank you for coming on. John, if you want to say anything else.
I just want to thank everybody. Thank you, Sunshine. What a lovely experience this has been.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Fun. All right. I love each and every one of you. You know it. May we all be happy, healthy, wealthy, and free. EWOP!
This is the moment we've been waiting for. Feel the right in the world of time for sure.